Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, we've got a great show today because we're going to be talking about creative ways to deal with loss and talk about creative.
I know, I love what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So we are going to do something called dreamscaping. I'm going to try to do it justice, but we've had Nancy on our show before, who is going to be one of our guests.
Yep.
And we really want everybody out there to understand it, because we are going to give you contact information about how you yourself can do this and can hire people to help you do this and to help you create dreamscapes after loss, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. Well, she's got a fabulous new book out and a website and all that. So introduce the people that are going to be on with Nancy Gershman, and then we're going to talk about how we got into the dreamscaping and how it went.
Yes, so I will introduce them fully, but I want to just say quickly, Nancy, Ziva, and Betsy are all right here today. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hi.
And let me start by talking about Nancy Gershman, because she is someone that we know well. We have known her for many years. We met her at the Association for Deaf Educators and Counselors. She has been a professional in the field. She is a memory artist and dreamscape developer. She has a new book, which is fabulous, Mom.
Fabulous pictures in it and descriptions. It's wonderful.
It is called Dreamscaping in Grief and Loss, The Art of Dreamscaping. And most recently, Nancy was my student, which was very strange because we were peers also at Columbia.
Living my life backwards.
I love it. You are living your life backwards. It's very cool. She is a graduate student at Columbia University in the School of Social Work. So welcome again to our show, Nancy.
Thank you.
Next to her is Ziva Zaf, and she is an art therapist in hospice and palliative care with the Metropolitan Jewish Health Services here in New York City. So welcome, Ziva. And then right next to Ziva is Betsy Foran Owens. And she is somebody that worked with both Ziva and Nancy, and they helped her to create a dreamscape in memory of Betsy's daughter, Aurora. So welcome.
Thank you for coming, Betsy.
Welcome you all. It's fabulous to have you on the show. And Betsy, let's start with you, because we wanted to hear about Aurora's story and about your story, because you're really kind of the catalyst for this wonderful dreamscape we're going to be talking about.
I had a wonderful daughter, Aurora, who was a great artist, wanted to go into film. She was someone who told fantastic stories in both film and in writing. Unfortunately, she also dealt with depression. And before her 17th birthday, she just couldn't make it. She took her life, unfortunately, and that was back in 2012. As part of our therapy afterwards, to fill that gap, to try and move forward, you can never forget. Life will never be the same. But we knew that we had to move on to be able to go on and to honor her. So I worked with a bereavement specialist, Phyllis Kosminski.
Yes, we know Phyllis.
Yeah, she's fabulous.
She is fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And Phyllis gave me some techniques to be strong, to help my family, to help Aurora's friends, to help our overall community move forward while honoring Aurora. And that actually was a wonderful process to go through. And we do things, we just gave out the 6th scholarship in Aurora's name that honors students from her high school who are going into the creative arts.
How amazing. Now, you got kind of stuck in therapy, right?
No, that I was,
or
Phyllis
stuck in life.
patched me up and pushed me out to go and thrive. And I was. Then I was an executive at an American corporation, and there were changes, and I was laid off.
And how long were you on that job?
I was on the job for 25 years.
Wow, so that's part of your identity.
It was part of my identity.
Both of them were identity losses.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So it was a loss of a corporate work family at the same time as some identity. And I then had to deal with loss writ large, because it was 4 years and a half after I'd lost Aurora. So this wave of loss came back, and I went back to Phyllis and said, I need some help.
You know, I want to stop you here because I know our audience is watching this and thinking, wow, triggering event. It's 5.5 years. Suddenly it comes back to me. Am I crazy? And you're saying, hey, it comes back.
This is normal.
You went in, it's normal, and now Phyllis says.
Phyllis says, hey, you seem a little stuck. Let me try something with you. I know someone who is using a new creative way to address loss.
I love it.
And one of the things that I always dealt with was that I am an accomplisher, a problem solver. And that's my work face. But yet there's this other side of me that's very creative. That's the side that Aurora really plugged into, and my other daughter McKenna is plugged into. But in the work world, I wasn't getting lots of that. But because work had grown so large, I was diminishing my creative outlet. So Phyllis really said, wait a minute, as you've got this, let's look forward. Let's look at how we can use your creativity to think about the next chapter of your life.
And let's go to, so you're in your therapist's office, in Phyllis's office, and who arrives?
Phyllis brought in the very lovely Nancy and Ziva, and it was an absolutely incredible experience because I'd seen pictures of dreamscapes, other people's, and I just didn't connect. I'm a very linear thinker when I come to things like that, but there were other people's dreamscapes.
That means other people's symbols, other people's metaphors,
Right.
and they were very personal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Ziva and Nancy then took about interviewing me and really getting into who was I, not just at that present moment, but at a much deeper, longer lens into my life.
The whole person. Not
But
just
the whole
So Ziva,
person.
give us a couple of questions that you might ask me if you were doing my dreamscape.
Well, I think any kind of loss, right, would find a person maybe at the weakness, and I saw also strength.
Okay.
If you tell me that you feel like a failure because you lost your work,
And I was feeling that.
I would ask you, I would first of all look at you, and I see that you're really not.
Right.
And then how do we lead you to finding out who you really are and all the other aspects of you? And Phyllis worked with you with some images. Remember?
Yourselves.
Right.
Do you remember that?
We had,
Ourselves.
Phyllis and I were dissecting me to a degree.
I love it.
And we actually came up with 3 different images of me. One who was the childhood me that was very creative and fun. One was the executive me, the problem solver, the doer. And then there was the superwoman me. And we made like little pegs of different sizes. And I think that there's a picture of them in Nancy's
Yes, there
book.
is.
And I love the superwoman because it is sparkly and blue and just kind of standing there. So that's the best side of myself when I am empowered and strong, as Eva said, and really able to be out there and create
Okay,
and
now she's
bring
talking
everything
about
together.
this. I'm watching this. She's talking about this in this session. What's happening here? Are you taking notes, Nancy? And
Well,
how is it
so
going?
what happened is Ziva is an art therapist, and I'm a memory artist, and there's a slight difference, right? Because usually an art therapist is involved with bringing out how someone feels through art, right? Bringing out the expression that they're feeling, their emotions at that moment. But what we're doing is we're just lightly touching upon the lost story and then jumping in to what were the strengths. That's what Ziva was talking about. So we went really back in time.
Tour, because
Yes.
what we would do is maybe go through memories. There's a conjunction here.
Right.
But I think this particular technique is a shortcut to finding that place where the
Yeah,
person
I
can
kind of called it a back door because it starts out with us asking, what are your most precious memories from your past? And when one looks at the dreamscape, that's,
Why don't we take a look at the
that's
dreamscape
because
right now?
it would
and
be
talk
great
about
if
it?
you could actually pull out. This is kind
So
of
that
like
they can-
deconstructing it.
Here
but-
it- here
oh
it-
boy.
now, who was it that you said did it's somewhat
Well, so
based on?
Ziva, and I worked on the dreamscape together,
Right.
but I really was just in a supervisory role because this was the first time that I ever was supervising someone to do the technique
Someone
of
else
dreamscaping. Yeah,
use it.
first time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it'd be great if you could narrate what pieces
what we're
from
seeing.
your
I love
past
it. It's fabulous.
went in here.
Yeah, what do we
You want to
see?
start with the
my.
umbrella?
Yes. Well,
Well, you've
first
got your
off-
umbrella here.
First off, one of to
Umbrella's part of the
understand
image.
a lot of the elements in this, we had to get to the fact that I was feeling like a failure.
Right.
And you two were so great in saying, wait, you're not? You have, throughout your life, accumulated a lot of different things where you have succeeded and not just survived, but thrived. So I was asked a lot about that.
We started with your
And-
job, and
Yeah.
and that's how we got to the umbrella.
And this umbrella was given to me. It's dirty and old now, but it's precious and no one else can have it. It was given to me by a young lady who I had mentored at Westchester Community College. And MasterCard, the company that I worked for, had a program where we would go and mentor women. And I saw her 5 years after I'd mentored her at a ceremony at WCC. And she knew that I was coming, and she came with this umbrella and said, I have to give this to you to thank you. You made such a difference in my life. She had graduated from a full 4-year institution and was thriving in business, was thriving in a home life, and wanted to give me something that really reminded me of her. Her name is Kelly, and it's this green Kelly.
Awesome.
And that's what it
And
is.
So-
that is in that.
But also Betsy's face changed as she was telling us about it. That's what we're looking for. Very closely, we're watching. Where is the spark?
Right.
You know, the spark.
So we're hearing, I'm hearing a strength-based story.
It is.
Of something you've done for people.
And you're
bringing
listening
you up.
verbally and looking at the nonverbal.
Yep.
And then
Yes.
you're creating this
and that was an
dreamscape.
image. That was in one of the images, and I thought how beautiful. It's not just an umbrella here,
Right.
Right? We're
Right.
talking about
It
A
symbolizes
symbolism
something
of
deeper.
gratitude.
exactly the connection that this girl had. That she remembers what
And your
you gave her.
contributions. Yeah.
I wondered,
And
is
then-
there anything here that specifically was uplifting about Aurora and your relationship?
Specifically about Aurora, no, but I think what it got to was I was seeing her passing and my loss of a job as being, I was a failure.
Okay.
So
Okay.
in this image, part of what I was also feeling was I wasn't having fun anymore.
Okay.
And what Nancy and Ziva were able to pull out, especially with the Trois Muses, the three muses, was this loveliness, this freedom of life and energy that Aurora had.
Right.
And we had when we were together.
Right.
And then the dancing in the rain is what brings it all together, and
Yes.
you now have a feeling about that
right.
expression.
And when I get down, or I can get stuck in my direction, my very linear thinking, and forget that life is actually very joyous. It has bumps and pitfalls, but ultimately it's joyous, and we can all learn to dance in the rain,
Yeah.
and we can learn to dance despite the rain. And often the rain brings us new things that we hadn't seen before. So the wonderful plants that are flourishing in this, that they have. There's another umbrella that Ziva put in there, because we all, my daughters, both McKenna and Aurora shared a love of Van Gogh.
Yeah,
with
Starry Night.
And Starry
Yeah.
Night.
They came up.
The first museum that they ever went to was MoMA, and I sat them right in front of Starry Night, and they just sat there for 5 minutes,
Wow.
stared at it, and said, "Okay,
So
it's time to
that-
go. We're leaving."
That evokes Aurora.
Right.
That evokes
It's,
Aurora.
absolutely. I mean, it makes you smile. When Heidi
It
and
does.
I
We
first
loved it.
brought it up, because we were in the show, we smiled and we laughed.
Yes.
And we
That's
sang
There's
faces.
also embedded images there. They're secretly put in
Yes.
there. There's,
That's
the,
right.
there's a dirty soccer sock. You want
That's
to talk
right.
about that?
Are you
Exactly.
kidding? Where's that?
There's, if
That's
you
cool.
look
In the
at the front
foreground.
Zoftig lady, you can see that her calves are filled with
We
something
added
that looks
that.
like
That's-
mud.
Yes.
That was
And
photoshopped into the image.
into,
I love
and
this.
that goes to the fact that when I was 12, my family moved to England for a year, and I was to play this game called netball that I'd never played. It was an English game. It's a form of basketball, and I learned it quickly and became the star of it. And it was a motion.
Oh my
It was an element for me to move away from this very reserved child that I had been, the
Right.
last of 5 children, to being somebody who was really looking outwards and pushing myself. And this refers to a moment where I fell down in this championship game, and I fell in the mud, and I completely covered in mud. I was bleeding everywhere, but I got up
I liked it.
and got the ball and passed it to someone who then shot to
Superhero.
That is so fabulous.
Yeah.
So
and,
you know you have that inside of you, and you can
Right.
pull that
and
out.
that's what these ladies brought out in me.
Yes.
So,
Just the
Fabulous.
storytelling.
you can pull
Yeah,
that out to survive
yeah.
and thrive with your current losses.
right.
And I think you didn't get a chance to really recap those stories from childhood with your parents because
No.
they didn't find those particularly important.
Yeah.
And then there was also the French.
Yes.
Your
Teaching
pursuit of,
French.
Of French.
Right.
that,
Water gun or something about water.
I'd started in college as a pre-med,
Right.
and at a certain point, I was realizing I was absolutely miserable. I could do the work, but I was dying inside. And then I took a French class because one of my brothers was looking like he might get engaged to a French woman, and I thought it would
Good
be good
reason.
if I could communicate. So in that classroom, I felt alive again.
Wow.
And then I went on to study French and got actually a master's in French and was a teacher of French. And
Wow.
it was all something
Now,
that
how's
was...
that symbolized on here?
Well, in here, we've got, well, first, the notion of les trois muses.
Okay.
The French is touched upon here.
Yeah.
It was also a moment that where we saw how much you loved something.
Yes.
You did
Yes, and
something you
even though
loved.
you didn't use it in your present life,
Right.
it still was a vital part of you, right? Yeah.
And it was just, you guys were so creative in being able to capture something like that in the details of this. It was
You know,
really
this
pretty
is so
cool.
amazing, Heidi. It is so strength-based.
It is.
You and I
Yeah.
are all about strength-based. I mean, it is so lovely, and to have people come and be able to pick out these moments
Exactly.
and care about them,
And especially if they weren't
Oh my
acknowledged and
gosh.
validated,
yeah,
Exactly.
right?
That
And
is
there's also,
exactly
you
it.
guys are also pulling on a lot
Yeah.
of unconscious stuff.
Yep.
There's
Yes.
a lot
Yes.
going on here.
That's why it's called
very-
dreamscaping.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very
Right.
complex, and that's why I love that you have a team working with you.
It
on
usually
really
would just be two
capturing-
people, though.
Okay,
Yeah.
two people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Capturing who you are fully.
And
Okay,
it's a dance. It's
Well,
a
it's
dance of creation
It's
between
two people, but
yeah.
it's really, there's a third element, which is the images.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is the art, which is the images. And as we pick the memories, we kind of, you call it in the book, mining it, which is really like fishing for
yeah.
Yeah.
images that then we can bring back to you,
Right.
back to the person who then, as you're watching it or you're thinking about the image,
Yeah.
you can feel the empowerment and maybe some kind of, I can't call it healing, but working
It gives
with
you a dose of uplift in a
Yes.
sense.
Now,
yeah.
I know Bob
Moments where-
Niemeyer,
Yeah.
that he's actually been on our board, that you worked with Nancy, and this is his series
Yes.
of books that people can get. And I know I was reading some things that Bob said about it. He said it's the left, right, and left
Yeah.
brain. The corpus
call it
callosum in the
callosum.
middle is working the
Yeah.
whole brain. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
kind of a fascinating
And he
idea.
also says that it's a way to compound what you need in your own imagination. Right, because you were really bringing up all these stories, and for us, we were seeing it reflected in your face. It was a completely different, different feeling that you.
With three of you
Yeah.
here, I want to make sure, because I know our audience is wondering how they can get your book, how they can get a hold of you, what you're doing.
Yeah.
Nancy, let's start with you. How
Sure.
can people find you and get your book?
I have a
and all that?
studio called Art for Your Sake, and they can just go to artforyoursake.com.
Okay.
Or Art for Your Sake, as my friend calls it. and everything is there, how to reach me, and they can get in touch with me. And
Are you working
Yes.
remotely with
well,
people?
I'm actually in school, but I'm still doing dreamscaping with private clients. And yes, I do it actually even over Zoom and Skype.
All right.
When they're
Fabulous.
far away.
And where can they get your book?
The book is on Amazon, and it's also on Routledge.
And say the name again, and we'll put it up.
Yeah, it's called
Okay.
Prescriptive Memories and Grief and Loss.
Yep.
The Art of Dreamscaping.
Yeah.
There it is.
Very good.
Lovely, lovely. And how about you?
I work as an art therapist in palliative care. I work with hospice and sometimes people's homes, families of the bereaved. We usually follow them for a few months after, up to a year after the loss, and sometimes your kids or adults. And I also have a private practice.
Okay.
In, I
And do you
work
have a
with Westchester.
website where they can find you, or do you want to give us some way
I
that
can
they
give
can
you my
contact
name,
you?
Ziva Zaf.
Do you want to give us your email address for people, or just
You can find me at Ziva, Z-I-V-A, Zaf, Z-A-F-F,
Ziva Zaf.
at
at-
zivazaf at gmail.com.
Okay.
Very
All
good.
right.
That would
okay.
be a good way to contact
Fantastic,
me.
fantastic.
On LinkedIn.
Okay. And Betsy, you've got some things going on with your daughter.
We actually are doing two different things. One that's public. We have, through the Fairfield County Community Fund, we have a scholarship for creatives, I'll say, in film, in fashion, in writing. And we just gave out this week the 6th scholarship to a young lady who's going to FIT.
Fabulous.
Ah.
And
Great
if you
school.
look
Fantastic.
up Aurora Owens on the internet, you can find that, and it'll get you to the Fairfield County Fund, Fairfield County Community Fund, and you can donate to that, which is, it's a lovely thing that we can do to remind her of that. Then also something that we do for ourselves and for Aurora's friends is on her birthday every year, which happens to be the day after Christmas. We honor her with Do Something Fabulous Day. And she was absolutely fabulous in life, and we want to make sure that her memories in death remain high, highly energetic and beautiful. And on the 26th, we get her friends together and we celebrate. We have swum with dolphins. We have gone out on outrigger canoes after whales. We've all gotten tattoos in her memory. We've gone skating in the park, and we've done some art together. So it's something that has helped us tremendously, and I would encourage others with loss.
I love it.
To
Well,
do
that's
something
getting
like
me
that.
right to where I was going to segue in, which is I wanted to get some advice from you. Well, you've already given us some fantastic ideas, but if you've got any ritual advice or advice for people who've recently had a loss, what would it be? You can start, Nancy.
Well, I would think that it'd be a great idea to sit with a memory artist, someone who has an interest in digging into family history and to find out those things again that are less validated and talked about, and bring those to the light, and then to create a tangible picture, because that allows you, particularly if you're bereaved and you're sort of numb from it, and have nothing to really crow about. This allows you to have a whole story driven by the dreamscape, and to talk about it, put it on social media, and open up a conversation about it.
I love it. Wonderful. So important to talk about it.
I think using the idea of having something tangible, I think once you have something tangible, eventually it stays with you. And if you carry an image, that helps you heal, and that helps you communicate to yourself first, and maybe to family members, the strengths, as you just did, of a loved one that passed, or the memories that can help you strengthen your relationships, current relationships. A lot of times maybe you haven't had the chance to come to terms or to come to some kind of peaceful closure with the person you've lost. You can still keep working on that in your life with other people, and with maybe a therapist, with yourself, through art, music,
I
any
love
other
that.
expression.
And I wanted to add that it doesn't need to be just a two-dimensional picture. It can also be on a T-shirt that can be worn by an entire family. At the next family gathering, where there would probably be an empty chair for that individual. So it's much more celebratory.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Some people carry them in their wallet, this small. What other ways? There was
So you could take this dreamscape
do
and
almost
put it
anything.
on a
Sure.
T-shirt
Yeah.
for a family event.
A father put it on a trivet, on a cutting board.
Oh, I love that. That's fun.
Yeah, all different things. Yeah.
You could have it
On a mug.
Yeah, you could. It is so upbeat. I mean, you could have it
Yeah.
on a little business card.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. The
And you
business
just
card.
pull it out for a little dose of happiness.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it could
and
be
fun.
private, or it could be something that you maybe.
Screensavers are usually.
Oh, I
for
love
people-
that.
what
yeah.
I meant, is
Yes,
screensaver.
that's usually the most common because it can be private.
Hey, listen, I want to thank you guys
yeah.
for being on the
Thank
show.
you
It's just
for
amazing,
asking
isn't it,
us.
Heidi?
It is, and I feel like Aurora is making such a difference in the world.
Yeah.
And
Thank
bringing
you.
happiness to so many people, because she was that person. She was the creative, which I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
on the show. You guys
Thank
are
you.
all
Thank you.
amazing, and I hope everybody will get a dreamscape. And thank you so much for watching this show. And Heidi and I always want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours till you find your own, and God bless.
The loss of a loved one can leave you feeling depressed, angry, alone, lost. But you don't have to face this journey on your own. Open to Hope is a free community for anyone who has experienced loss. Find support. Find help. Find hope. Give grief a voice at opentohope.com.